Good evening, everyone. It is May 4th, 7:30 p.m. I'm sorry, I'm calling to order our session tonight, and we'll do the pledge first. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go.
Trustee Fritchie,
Present.
Trustee White,
Present.
Trustee Lopez,
Here.
Trustee Casada,
Present.
Mayor Levin.
Present.
We have a public hearing in the matter of local law number 4 of 2022, a local law adding a new chapter 83 bicycles with electric assist and electric scooters, and amending chapter 255 vehicles unlicensed to the Village of Austin Code. Is there anybody here who would like to speak?
On this matter.
There is no one in the audience right now.
Okay. So what's interesting is we could wait. Stuart Kahan, for those who will be listening to this or will be joining us, is at a conference and wasn't able to join us. So this is a public hearing. We can elect or vote to close it. We can wait another week, see if more folks want to chime in. Any thoughts? We can wait till Stuart is back next for the next legislative session.
Mayor, if I can, because we're on sort of a condensed schedule, because this is related to Project Mover, which has a June submission to NYSERDA, it would be helpful, unless there's a great objection, to closing the public hearing this evening.
That's why I brought that up. So folks, anybody, I support this legislation. I know there were questions from the public. I got emails about safety of e-bikes. The legislation isn't passing that tomorrow morning. We have e-bikes. It is a move forward to an entire grant proposal and project that we hope to receive. And this is one of the steps to do an analysis and a consultation, and then a rollout, we hope, if we win the grant, to create safety lanes. And it's a multi-layered project, but to get that going, we have to pass this legislation so that the consultants can move forward on the analysis and on the project. So for those in the public that somehow thought we were voting on e-bikes for tomorrow morning, that is not the case here. It's part of a process. So I just want to make that clear. I'm in support of closing the hearing since no one is here to discuss it. So I would need a vote for that.
Yeah.
A motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the board? Martha?
All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we're moving on to mayor's and trustees announcements.
Okay. Let me go around the gallery and start with the trustees. Anybody have any announcements?
I have a couple things. One is this Friday, there's going to be the second community crawl / First Friday event. And this is organized by NU Builds. It's a citizen effort, and local businesses on Croton Avenue and downtown will be participating in a variety of ways. Check out the, gosh, I'm not sure which website, but on Facebook, go to NU Builds, ENU Builds, and they'll have a schedule on there. And it was really fun last time, and there's going to be some new people involved, and it was great fun. The other thing that's happening on Saturday is the Green Ossining tag sale, townwide tag sale. One of my favorite events. Usually I'm doing a tag sale. This year I will be shopping, like I need more stuff. And but it happens throughout the town and village. And if you go to greenossining.com, they have the list of the houses that are participating. And it's a great way for people to get rid of stuff instead of throwing it away. So those things are happening. And then Mayor, are you going to talk about the COVID memorial?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, you can too. It's
No,
not.
I'll let you, no, it's okay.
Okay. And Jamie, on the web blast, did you mention those two items as well? So if people want to go on the latest of the web blast from the
Going out
village.
tomorrow morning, so it'll be,
Oh, I'm sorry, you'll do it tomorrow morning?
they go out, it goes out every Thursday morning.
Okay, so tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
Great. Okay, anyone else?
I could go. Last week, I had the pleasure of going out to FDIC out in Indianapolis, courtesy of all of my colleagues. And I'll tell you what, it's super, super informative. The amount of vendors and the amount of equipment that's out there and the stuff that's up and coming is just amazing. I will put something together. I just haven't had time to show you guys. But I took a total of 4 classes, and the last one I took, Ricky, you'd be proud of me. This was policies and stuff that we should have. So I said, if I take this, they all looked at me like, what are you doing? I said, I will be an all-star. And I showed this to Rika, and I took this about policies and what to do, what to not to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of points as far as guidelines and procedures. You shouldn't have guidelines. You should have procedures. And
Wow.
it all comes down to legal. He sent me the whole, I have the whole course that he gave, you know, he sent it to us. But you know, it's just, and the camaraderie out there. I met firemen from Colombia, from Brazil, a lot of from
Wow.
Canada. They come from all over. This is like the show to go to. And stay tuned because stuff is up and coming. All right. So that's all I have. Thank you again.
I just want to ask one question, Bob. If you just had one headline, like you came back from the trip and there was like, you're sitting next to some guy on the, you know, on your flight, and you say to him, like, the one thing I learned that I just didn't realize happening anywhere. I didn't realize it was international. Like, what's the one thing that sort of surprised you that you learned that's out there, like a trend that you may not have been aware of, or you were, but you realize your colleagues are going through the same thing?
I mean, I'm aware of the equipment, the apparatus, everything. That's an everyday thing, and the salesmen are out there, and we happen to be dealing with a salesman from Premier that's building our utility truck. So, you know, we kind of, you know,
Right.
needle them a little bit. Where are we at? When's it going to be done? But the courses that are given, it's a 50-50 thing. There's a lot of firematic courses, but there's definitely a lot. There's legal courses and ambulance. So the one thing you say funny on the plane, because I had nobody next to me on the plane way out. I sat down and I had this older lady, you know, she saw my file. Oh, you went to the show. And I'm like, I just want to sit here and watch my movie. I really don't want to talk for 2 hours. So I was nice, and she got the hint when I put my earphones in. But it's overwhelming, to tell you the truth. It's really overwhelming. I mean, you're talking 80,000 to 100,000 people going through there in 3 days.
Wow.
And yeah, it's amazing. It's my key, I guess, overwhelming would be my word to say, because you can't do it all, and you really got to try and pick and choose, you know. But it's
Okay.
it was a real great experience.
Great. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to hear about the policies and stuff. That's sort of cool, the legal stuff.
I knew you'd like that one.
I know. Yep, that's what we do, legislators. Okay. I thought, Omar, were you about to say something? I can't tell. Were you going up
No, I'm
next?
good tonight.
Okay. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. So I have to get the right date because I look at everything weeks in advance, but we are doing our really technically our second, but we're going to call it our first annual sort of COVID remembrance. The village has created a park in our Nelson Sitting Park next to Park School. We have a beautiful layout with a tree and 3 benches that are 6 feet apart. There, you know, we've read poems about COVID. The whole point of the COVID memorial is that all year round, people have a place to sort of sit, contemplate. Many people in our community lost members of their family. And as we all recall, it's not that far behind us. it was very lonely and it was hard. And our historian, to her credit, had sort of called me up at some point and said, you know, we always spend 20, 30 years after an event and start looking at the history and memorializing it. It would be so much better if we started memorializing major events that we recognize as major events right when they happen, when it's fresh in people's minds, when people can put their thoughts together and honor certain people in their lives and tell the stories as they're happening, not 20, 30, 40 years later, when nobody really, not nobody, but people don't remember things as accurately. Thought it was a great idea. The village staff immediately went into full speed, and we created a sitting area, in a park. We now have a plaque to memorialize a date forever. And so we had agreed that once a year, like we do with other events, we would all get together for a little time with maybe a different theme every year. This year's theme is going to be our gratitude to the first responders. We have this week asked the chief of police, chief of the fire department, and Nick Franzoso from OVAC, who did a tremendous amount, all three groups did a tremendous amount of work in seeing this community sort of to the other side of the pandemic. And I think the theme of honoring them is exactly at the right time. And for the folks who ran this who are still around, to be thanked for it while they're around. So we welcome Jamie, the exact date and time. Do we have the time?
Yes, we do. It's going to be Friday, the 13th at 9 a.m. at Nelson Sitting Park.
Right. So Friday, the 13th, for some of you, you may think it's bad luck, but I want to remind some of you that in many cultures, it's actually a good luck. So I'm thrilled to be having that date set aside for it. We invite everyone in the community. It's going to be, I think, a nice event. And I'm looking forward to as many people as are available to come out and join us. That's one thing. I wanted to wish Happy Mother's Day to the women on this call, who are someone's mom. And for all of us who have moms, that would be every single person on this call. You know, a Happy Mother's Day to, for some of us, the most important person in our life. And I hope that you're able to celebrate Mother's Day with your mom, or if you're a mom, that your kids do the right thing and celebrate with you. So a happy Mother's Day to all of you. For those celebrating Cinco de Mayo, maybe like me, you'd be drinking a margarita at a local place. Some of you might be doing something else. I always encourage going local in our community. You can Google Cinco de Mayo to actually learn the history of the event. Most people, not that I'm going to give a history lesson, you can Google it. It's an interesting historical point. And there are, I think, many events now that the doors are opening up. Austining always has many, many, many events going on the weekend. Some were mentioned, but do not hesitate tomorrow when the web blast comes out to look at everything that we have going on Austining and local municipalities. So those are some things I wanted to just bring to the public's attention. And I think we can continue with the meeting. And I think it goes to Martha.
Yes, so we're moving along to our special presentation. Our first one is the Village Seal discussion with Brian Sheridan of Hothouse Designs.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm hoping Maddie is going to be able to move this PDF file for
Yep.
me.
I got you, Brian. Give me just 1 second.
Excellent. This is phase 2 of seal design development. In the first phase, you were presented with 14 concepts. They were considered, discussed, and out of the 14, two were selected as worthy of refinement. That was design 2 and design 4. On this page, there's a green star next to those two. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Those are the two selected in the first phase. Design 2, strong graphic. The comments were, we wanted to see the typography incorporated into the circle itself. Some felt as though it resembled the London subway system. So we experimented or took a look at new color schemes. So here we have the design. This is a sans serif font that is shown in a number of different color schemes. Same design, just different colors. This is what that design would look like in a couple of contexts. Glass wall in an office space, on a vehicle, on a business card, and on a banner flag. This is the same design, but with a sans serif face, a little more classic. Same situation, how that design looks like in context.
Mhm.
This is design 4. This was the most popular first phase. The problem here was the double arches were not an element that anybody wanted to work with. So we wanted to take a look at other architectural elements in the village. Because it made the design considerably more complex to include a lot of architectural facades and things, changed the style of the rendering to a more engraving style. Again, this set here is basically a sans serif font, different color schemes. Don't have an idea whether the village is attached to any particular color brand. So that's still open for discussion. I thought I'd throw everything out there that I thought would be helpful. And this is what that design looks like in context. Same design, sans serif font, different colors. Again, in context. These were ideas that came after the fact, after presentation 1, that I thought were interesting ideas, and I thought I'd at least give you the opportunity to see them. This was incorporating an organic native flower into the design. And this one was focusing on another iconic architect detail. So these are the 4 iterations that I'm presenting tonight in grayscale to better evaluate them without being confused by the color. And that's essentially it.
Maddie, can you go up just back 1 slide? On the bottom 2, I don't know, it might be me. I can't. Oh, I see the font is different. Okay, got it. Okay, great.
Yes, the 2 on left
got it.
are answer.
Yeah, great.
So
Thank you,
if there's any
Brian.
comments.
All righty. Well, I think we should leave this up because I suspect people will say, can you show me this again? Can you show me that again? First of all, I want to say for people watching that Brian is from Ossining and has a business in marketing and design. And we very much appreciate, we always try when we can to go local. So very much appreciate you gave us actually more than we had asked for. And we appreciate all the detail and the work that you have put into this. So thank you for that. Okay, I think we're ready to open it up for conversation. If I may just frame the conversation, people may not agree with me. We have been discussing the village seal not every week or every month, but it's probably been all of 2022, and I believe most of 21. So maybe like a year, a little bit more than a year. I personally would like to move this along to sort of come to a conclusion tonight. If we can all agree on the seal that we believe should be written up into legislation so that Stuart can come back, put it into legislation, open it to a public hearing, because I think that's what will be required, and then make it happen. So I'd like to open it to conversation, but I also like to open it also to village staff, because you all have to look at this and say, yeah, we can use this on checks. Yeah, we can use this on contracts. Yeah, this works for the web. Because if there's something on here that when you look at it doesn't work, you've got to let us know. You might want to think about it more, but I think that Brian went through a lot of trouble actually to make sure that it works on different materials and different venues appropriately, because that's his expertise. Okay, let's open it up to conversation. Do we need to keep this up, folks, or do you all know what you sort of want to go with?
I can start. I say we leave it up for a little bit just so we have
Okay.
something to refer to.
Great.
I first want to thank Brian for your hard work. This is super professional. It makes our village look great, and there's no bad option. So I'm happy to say that whatever direction we go with tonight, I'm walking away a happy man. This is really, really great work. Absolutely. If I had my druthers, my preference would be to go with the top right option, so the circle, and then with the serif. The rationale being that the simplified design makes it so that whether it's on a garbage truck or on a business card, on a t-shirt or on a hat, it's something that you can see from very far away and know exactly what it is. That's one of the things that I don't actually really don't like the Croton seal. I think it's kind of wild, but it's very different and it is very recognizable. And that's what I like about this without it being so busy. That's what I don't like about the Croton seal. So I like how simple it is. And yet, I don't know what you call it, the moniker, what's on the signs around the village. It says old in history, young in spirit. And I think that this captures that, the serif version specifically. The little lines on the text denote a little bit more formal, a little bit more a little older kind of style, and I think that denotes the kind of old in spirit, whereas the having like a half of a building and like the circle and all that is a little bit fresher and younger, and I think it captures both of those elements that we tried to move forward. So that's my choice. And in terms, a big question is in terms of color. I don't know if we have to choose a color, but if we did, then I would love for our historian Joyce Schrock-Cole to maybe find some colors that are relevant to us. It could be the kind of maroony color that we tend to use all over the place. Could be versions of that, but I'd like it to be rooted in some element of Ossining history, the limestone or something like that. But that's what I have to say.
Okay, next.
How about brick red? You know, I'm torn. I love them both. I would be happy with either one. I too like the one that Omar likes. I like the simplicity of it. The other one has many more elements, which is also great. And that is certainly an iconic view of ours. That's what we're known for, the historic buildings going down to the river. I love seeing Hook Mountain back there. I tend to like the serif font. But I would be happy with either one.
Okay, next. Anybody?
Annie, you can go.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, yeah, you guys are. Okay, so.
Hey, I don't think you want, I wanted to see what you think, Bob, because look, Brian, this is like really tough for me, which is really bad, I guess. Great job, really amazing job for this.
Thank you.
You know what, this is sort of where I am right now. I like the simplistic part of that, but let's say if we were to remove, or someone removes the Village of Austin, sure, even though that tower, the icon building that we all know that is here, if someone was to show that Westchester, they just, I seen that type of building or colonial style in a way, and other municipalities as well. So to me, having the option number 4, even if we were to remove the Village of Austin portion of it, that is the Village of Austin, because it's very unique. So that's what I'm traveling. I'll go with option 2, the simplistic way. I think will be simple, very nice, very tasteful. Either font, it looks fine to me. And I agree with Omar. I think we should try to get some historic colors. Me personally, I like the maroon, because that sort of represents what Austin has been doing for many years, or for decades. So I would like to see some sort of color integration on that one. But I think I agree. I think we should have a historian kind of have our 2 cents on here and just give us some ideas. So I'll do 2, either option on the font itself works for me.
So you like the building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Fritchie?
So I like 2 and I like 4.
Which one is 4?
The bottom right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that's how we did it. Got it.
My thing is, that when you see it as Austin, I agree with Manny's point of just seeing a building. So I'm going to throw the curveball in here. Can we use number 2 for our vehicles and stuff that's out on the street that where it's really going to be noticed, and utilize number 4? I just don't have a problem not seeing downtown. All right, even the clock's been there however long. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful job, by the way. You made it hard for us. And maybe use number 4 for, stationary office stuff, and where it's more in your face noticeable than being on a vehicle. I think either one of them will look good on a vehicle. They're really only going on the doors. So I'm favoring number 4. Not that it really matters, because you already got 3 number 2s. So I'm favoring number 4, but I'm throwing the idea out there to use 2 and 4, and use 4 for, inner office, letterhead. I think that, to me personally, looks a little more professional on a letterhead than number 2. But I'm okay with both of them. But
Yeah.
I'd like to throw that option in there and see what other people think about using number 2 for your vehicles and that sort, and then using number 4 for our letterhead and, formal stuff. That's where I'm at. Overall, I favor number 4, but I know it doesn't matter, so I'm throwing the option in there now.
It
Okay.
matters, Bob.
Yeah, because I'm going to go after you, and I'm going to say that I like number 4. I'm going to say why I don't think we should have 2 seals. I totally understand, by the way, what you're saying, but the whole point is to have one look on everything. And I think I appreciate, Brian, that you put it on a garbage truck, on a flag. It shows us like what it might look like, right? It's the thing, I like them both. Omar has said before, it's like 50, 149, it's not like you've made it difficult for me. And I looked at this, I looked at home, I looked at all the colors, the fonts, etc. I like both fonts, by the way. So that's cool. You know, I don't think I think most of us actually are okay with both fonts. Nobody hates one or the other. So that's a good thing. Look, for me, those buildings, when I first saw it, I took the Village of Ossining out. To me, that's like the buildings that remind me of Soho. They remind me of lots of places in Brooklyn. The ones on the bottom, the number like 4 really says Ossining. If you look at it clearly, if you're looking as the truck passes by, it still looks like a river town. It clearly, for me, is a river town, especially with the mountain in the background. It, to me, for those that know Ossining, absolutely looks, the clock that you drew in there is fantastic. The trees, I think it's a great shot of this village. If I did a photography, I actually like it in grayscale the most, by the way. I like it better than the ones in color. I actually like the grayscale for this. I'm leaning towards the sans serif, but I wouldn't argue over it. It's not such a big deal to me. I mean, there are hundreds of fonts. I don't even know how you decided which font to use because, as you know, there are, I mean, thousands of fonts now. So I wouldn't object to any of them, but like Bob, this speaks Ossining, and I actually feel Ossining when I look at this. The other one with the building has everything Omar said, everything Dana said, everything Manny said. If I take the wording out, it could be lots and lots of places in the state of New York. I don't see the same thing when I see the bottom one. It could be river towns, but it's for sure Ossining when you have that clock in there. And if that clock is gone in 40 or 50 years, people will still see that that's a point of differentiation. It actually makes me feel good to look at the bottom ones. Like I actually feel like I do when I go to our village, like this time of the year on a nice spring day. So it actually made me feel good. And I think the feel is part of what is attractive for me. Can I imagine it on baseball caps? And I totally get Omar's point, because that's where these things go. They go in like little 1-inch sizes on baseball caps, right? And on t-shirts, and will people be able to see it? Honestly, the way you drew it, yeah, they both have the O in it. You know, the circular, the one on top with the building, there's definitely an O, right? It's definitely Ossining. But the ones on the bottom being circular also read that way to me. And it's very clear it's a village of Ossining. It's very clear when it's incorporated, etc. So we have a close vote. It's just you've made it tough for us. You know, you gave us really good options, Brian. So thank you. You know, nobody hates anything. That's a slam dunk. Thank you for that. So we're like a 3-2. If we, you know, want to give it a minute, that's fine. If we're going to go with, you know, majority rules,
Mayor, before
I'm not
we
going to
go,
follow a sword on, you know, majority rules.
Mayor, you at in the beginning of this portion of the meeting, you asked do you would like to hear from staff as well. So I'll be curious
Oh,
to hear
excuse me. Yeah.
from staff, you know,
Thank you, Manny.
you know, if you don't mind.
No, thank you
So
for reminding me.
Thank you, Trustee Capsada. Thank you, Mayor. We were just doing a little text huddle here. But they're all wonderful, Brian. Great images and reflection of Ossining. I love the downtown graphic, but for a lot of what we use on social media, it gets pretty tiny. And that's going to be very hard to see on a phone screen and things like that. And I don't know, Brian, you're the expert here. Any thoughts if we went in that direction, how we could make sure that we could use it on social digital media where people are looking on small screens?
Well, I share your concern about usage on digital channels, and it definitely gets more problematic when the scale is small. I guess my recommendation, if you were to go with that design, would probably have to come up with a simplified version of it.
So, Brian, may I,
It's basically the same design, except we strip out a lot of the high fidelity detail and just make it closer to an outline rendering. that will read on very small sizes.
Brian and Karen or Maddie or Jamie, because you guys do a lot of the stuff online. Sure. What is the typical size of our seal right now?
I'm going to let Jamie answer that because she really is the one who is using it most in the most different formats.
I do use it every day, several times a day. So I liked everything that Brian did. I think they were all great. I think that similar to the other seal that sort of brought this conversation up, it's beautiful and it's highly detailed. I just don't see how it could be made smaller. And I'm thinking that there's got to be a way maybe in that building that the second one, number 2, which 3 of you had liked, that there is a way to maybe do that. Is it possible to maybe make that the Barlow block, which is more, the Barlow block is where it's in the mayor's picture. You know,
Oh, the one, oh, right.
Yeah, so that's the start of the Barlow block going down. Maybe not make it that particular building that you have, but maybe switch it. And I don't want you to have to go back to the drawing board on this, but if it's going to be something that represents the downtown, that shows you hold on, Adam Markovics from the HPC has his hand up, so we'll get you in just a second. I think that there's a way that we can make it look historic, where it's recognizable, where it could have the river in the background, but maybe a building that's more familiar versus one that isn't. But I do have to say, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but Brian does have 1813 on both of those buildings in 1 and 2, which represents when the village started, which I really like that.
Yeah. So Jamie, again, so right now, because I print the last page out myself, and the size of the seal, Brian, you made it about 2 inches in diameter.
It would never be more than a ½ an inch to an inch.
So that's my question.
It would be low res, right? It would be a low
very
resolution.
You'd lose everything in it. Yeah.
So that was actually, that's my concern as well. And that's why I think the simplistic portion, I think, will be best.
Okay.
As much as I like number 4, I think even number 2 with that smaller scale, it will diminish what we're trying to accomplish. But, again, I would love to have number 4, but I think that was one of the reasons why I kind of
went with the more simplistic. Yeah. I would just say that the 1813, I think, needs to be more boldly seen. It disappears a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that needs Brian to just have a more. Adam, I guess you're raising your hand for this conversation.
You can speak if you'd like, Brian. Adam, you're part of our group, so you're
in the panel. Yeah.
I appreciate it. With regard to the 1813, it's, if I'm thinking of the right building, on the corner of Main Street and Brandreth, it's just not on that building. In fact, I think the date is 1874 on that building. So I have a problem with it for that reason.
There's no doubt that there's an artistic license being taken. Now, the thing I want to say about that facade is that it's pretty much representative of the Italianate facades that run on the north side of our main street. Now, I have been all over Westchester County, everywhere. We are the only ones with that stretch of buildings with those facades like that goes all the way from the top to the bottom of the street with a few interruptions. This is unusual in Westchester County. There used to be some on the other side too. The Voucher building have the same Italianate. There's a word for that, right, Adam? So to me, now the 1813, I know exactly what you mean, Adam, because if you're going to be literal about it, that building is not an 1813 facade.
Maddie, can you show that? I'm sorry, Dana.
That is an 1870s Italianate facade. So, but
let's just look at it again because we have village. Okay, so the only time you see 1813 in that design, unlike the other one that says incorporated 1813, is just on the building.
Now, is
Okay.
it possible to add more than one building there?
And
So
I
that they're next
hesitate
to
to go
each other?
back to the drawing board at this point.
I think the idea was to be simplistic. I mean, I think the whole point of the design is to keep it very simplistic. So.
I mean, this facade is representative of the Barlow block facades as well. I mean, they're, in fact, originally, you're not going to care about this, but originally, before the bank building facade was redone, it had exactly this facade, the Barlow building. Now, it doesn't anymore, but I'm just saying. So, you know, I think these things are symbolic. Now, to me, this symbolizes perseverance. This symbolizes, you know, our history that has survived when other history has not. This represents our allegiance to, you know, to preserving this history. And I think that it looks really great on the side of the garbage truck. I mean, I think the graphic, I think it's clever with the O. I think the graphic is clean. Now, it may look like other buildings you've seen. Sure, the Italianate style spread across the country. But this is for Westchester. Ossining has the best example of a stretch of these buildings. They were all designed and built by this with the same brick by the same one or two people.
Right, so can we also go back to the colors? Just, I happen to like the grayscale, but can we go back to the colors? Bob, you and I are the only ones that voted the other ways, and I'm like 51-49, so I'm not gonna, you know, if you want to comment further on it, I want to look at some of the colors. I don't think I loved the colors. So we may need to just visit that, because we will need a color. I mean, you've got a seal, you got to have a, you could also do it in a grayscale, black and white, but there's usually a color. I don't see maroon actually on any of these, so, which is what the school uses and we've used elsewhere.
And there's nobody else in, and for Westchester for seals, I have looked at a lot of seals in this process for the last year and a half, and I don't even want to see it more. I have never seen one like this.
Okay.
The 1813, I get it. It's not historically accurate. It's not an 1813 building.
On that particular building.
It may not be clear that, see, that's our little joke. 1813 is when we were incorporated, right? People aren't necessarily going to understand that. And if you're an architectural historian, you're going to go, that's not an 1813 building. So I don't know if there's a way, you know, if you could put INC period above 1813 incorporated, or, you know, indicate that that's what that date is about, or not have a date. You don't have to have a date.
Okay, I have one more question, Brian, on this. So colors and the way they're produced, some are complicated and some are based on primary colors and are very inexpensive. Some of the stuff takes up a lot of ink when you print and when you do print jobs. Any suggestions on colors?
The way printing is done these days, I don't think any of those concerns should be
Okay.
handicapped here. You can do any kind of printing you want for the same basic low price. Digital printing just made it so inexpensive.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to have a problem.
All right, so we'll need to, colors I've sat in meetings for hours upon hours when people are deciding between 3 different blues, literally. So I know this could take an entire meeting just for us to agree on a color. I feel like we have a majority vote, which I'm a minority voter on. But I want to make sure nobody changed their mind or whatever. I was good with, I like the feeling I had when I saw the other one, but I'm not inclined to sway people's mind tonight. I like both of them. I see the pros and cons of both of them.
So,
Nobody's
Mayor,
giving me reasons to say I hate this and this won't work and all of that kind of stuff. Nobody on the
Mayor,
gallery.
may I ask another question to Brian, please?
Yeah, sure. Go
So
ahead.
Brian, and I know we were hoping to get a decision right now. So, and I know you just heard that if we can simplify the building, which at this point is option number 2, sure, or seal number 2. is there a way for you to send us a simplistic way of the seal number 4 option in a way just for us to see how simplistic could that be? Is that something that you think it will help us in a way? Because like I said, I like the concept of that, but I just think it will be too busy for us to use it in this the manner that we use our seal right now. So let me ask the board as well the same question. Is that something that maybe we could explore with one more option for Brian to come back at some, within a couple of weeks from now?
I personally don't need it. I heard the
Okay.
rationale. So for me, if Bob wants it, that's fine. And it might change our mind. If I were 90-10, I would say yes. But I see the pros and cons of each. I've looked at them. I looked at them at home when it was sent to me. It's not the first time. Like, so I already was liking both of them, and I totally get the pros and cons of each of them. If you oversimplify the other one, I am not sure that it would have the same feeling for me. So I don't need it. I'm good with the majority vote. I do not have a problem that, I went a little bit the other way. It's cool. I like them both, but I don't know if Bob wants it done. So we have one more run through this. For me personally, one of the voters that wanted the other one, I'm good.
The reality of number 4 is when you go to put that on a sticker that's going to go on a truck, it's going to have to be more simplified. I mean, he did artwork, beautiful artwork. I'm not taking anything away from it, but for that to be put onto a decal,
Yeah.
it almost has to be more simplified. It's
Yeah.
just not, it's just going to blur. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. I mean, it's, we're talking about a sticker going on
I
a truck.
disagree with that. I think the printing processes can handle that beautifully. It would, all the digital printing that I handle these days is razor sharp. I don't see a problem.
Mm-hmm. Or else you wouldn't have given it to us, right?
Not intentionally, no.
Right.
I don't know. I hear both sides of it, but number 4 is awesome. That's just my opinion. I hear the Barlow building argument too. That's awesome. This is awesome if you know that building. I get it. But
We have several buildings that look like that. I mean, that is emblematic of a good part of Main Street. I mean, I don't think we should look at it like, okay, I know what building that is.
no, I'm not.
It's
I'm not.
symbolic of,
My point, if it falls on,
Yeah.
this to me, just if it didn't say Village of Ossining, I wouldn't know where that was. Just like Rika says. When I look at the other one, it's Ossining. We should stand out, but that's my opinion. And this is what it is.
All right, so let me make this simple in a way, I guess. I changed my mind. I would like to support option number 4. And the reason why, part of what Brian said, it kind of, make me realize that, again, that was my take when I first made my statement, and I wanted to make sure that it's simplified. But I think, I'm gonna, just looking at the downtown, we know, like I said in my statement before, that we know that is awesome. Without the words Village of Austin, we don't know what that is. I was trying to simplify the process, but it seems like, printing wise, it will not be a problem. So I will like.
Can I just jump in one quick second?
Sure.
I was replying to a comment or a concern about it being a large decal on a vehicle. Now, I still believe design 4 is a much more detailed rendering that will have problems on smaller size.
The detail itself, because I just printed out another copy and I reduced it myself to about an inch, because maybe it's not an inch, the seal itself, maybe an inch and a quarter, if anything, and you don't lose that much of the graphics. It's not as bad. Maybe what we can do is like tone it down a little bit from the dark lines to a lighter line, so you can see where the printing is. And that's something that you can tweak that on your program, on the software itself. So I think that should not be a problem for me. So I will, again, I tend not to change my mind on things like this, but I'm doing this right now, and I'm in favor of number 4.
The other thing
if
to
I
think
can-
about is the courtroom, that big seal in the courtroom
Yeah.
on the wall.
Yeah,
I assume that we would put a new one there.
correct.
And I think that number 4 would be beautiful, that size up on the
I'm
wall.
sorry, Mayor, I thought we said we were not changing existing seals, anything new and anything
No,
new
that's
going forward.
removable. We're not changing permanent, like the plaques and stuff like that. That seal is made from a mold. It weighs like 1 pound, just gets taken. In fact, I think Dana wants to put it as part and actually do a ceremony to retire that seal. That's a
I was not aware. Yeah, I don't
removable
think we weren't
seal.
aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a
doesn't
removable.
make
Things that are permanent, like these plaques that are in walls, bolted in. Yeah, we're not removing that. But on the trucks, we'll take
Oh yeah,
seals
the
off and put
trucks,
new ones
yes,
in.
but she was referring to the one in the court, so that's why.
Yeah, that thing is like a frame. It just comes right off.
Okay. Again, I was not aware that we were doing anything.
Yeah.
like that, but okay.
Well, it wouldn't make sense to leave that.
Manny's talking about the fact that we said we're just going to put the seal out everywhere going forward and leaving. We had that conversation. He's bringing us back to conversation. And I'm saying that my assumption in that, rightly or wrongly, maybe I was wrong, is that we're not taking out permanent things, plaques on walls, signs, we're not taking that stuff down. It'll destroy whatever it's on. The seal in the courthouse is simply a frame. It's like a molded, just moves right out.
So if I
It's
can
not a
jump in.
permanent it's not a permanent thing. So we're now flipped to a 3-2 in favor of number 4. It's been
if I can
sort
jump
of
in, Mayor?
Yeah, please.
Thanks.
Of course.
So yeah, we don't need to belabor the point.
Mhm.
My original comment stands. I'd be happy with any one of these designs. One of the things that I think has been most convincing to me in going to number 2 is I was actually struck by this most recently. I was standing next to the Chief Sylvester. If you look on his arm, there's a patch and it has various symbols, and the police department seal is a different seal than the village, just like the rec department, there's like different seals that are used, and that's a patch that's literally like stitched together, obviously. It just stuck in my mind about what is the level of detail that you could put on a patch, and it will still be readable and legible and all that. And so that's why when I looked at these 4 designs, I said, oh, like number 2 was going to be something that's still going to be legible on a patch, for example, versus not. The second thing is that I think that it's helpful to think about who's going to be looking at this and for whom is this seal. And if we're talking about a seal that is descriptive for the people that currently live here, that gives them warm feelings when they look at it and feels familiar, that is one thing. But none of these seals, for anyone that hasn't been to Ossining or knows Ossining, it's not like it has like the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower that like is an iconic thing. That's like, oh, anybody seeing this thing is going to know this is Paris or this is New York. It's like, this is, I don't know, a place somewhere. But because we know that that's downtown Ossining or that's this particular building, we know that it represents us. And if our rationale is we want something that makes us feel good, and it doesn't really matter if folks outside of Ossining look at it and say, this is iconic Ossining, well then, that's fine. And I think that it could work either way. But I think it's worth noting that neither one of these is going to be for somebody that's coming from Rockland County that looks at the seal. They're not going to go, oh, that's Ossining. In fact, if we wanted to make something that was really Ossining, we would put the prison, like the police department seal has. It has like a prison, like a guard tower. That's Ossining. That's very like, people know, oh, Sing Sing is in Ossining. That would be like very reminiscent, but that's not the direction we're going. The last thing that I'll say is that I don't know if we have to decide colors today. I think we just have to decide design. So if we're just designing design, then going with the 4th design is something that I could live with. So yeah, that's all.
Thank
I
you.
just want to touch on the patch comment. Fire department, ambulance corps, and police department do not have the village seal on their patch. They're separate entities. They've got separate identifications. And I don't believe there's any patch on any uniform that the existing village seal that we have now is on. And as a matter
That's
of
not my
fact-
point. I think you misunderstood me, Bob.
Oh,
My
you-
point was that when I looked at that, at the seal that is on the police department seal, I was looking at what is the level of detail on that particular seal, and then was comparing it to these seals. I wasn't saying that the village seal would become those seals.
No, I understand that, but what the patches actually can get very detailed, but you wouldn't see this or seal being on a patch. So, and on those, actually on all of those patches, there is the prisons on there, the arches are on there, and then the I know the fire department has the river. I think they all do. They're pretty similar. So,
Right. Yeah, they
I
are
just-
pretty similar. I guess the other reason that I thought of it is because I was at the 9A funding event on, I don't know when that was. Days blurred
Friday.
together. Friday. And the village of Briarcliff, town of Briarcliff, I don't know. I'm so tired.
Village, it's a village.
Thank you. The village of Briarcliff has the trustees have jackets that they got for them when they go to events, so that they're like recognized as trustees or whatever, and they have the seal on there. I go, oh, there's another time when you would have like a patch or a stitched version of the seal, and so it does come up. But again, these are like marginal cases. It's mostly Jamie putting it in the web blast and on the website and whatever, and I think they can work.
Okay. Going to, in case, I appreciate everybody's commentary. Nobody's really arguing with anybody. Everybody's stating their minds about how they see it. This is often the case with these kind of things, really how it speaks to you. I just want to conclude this so everybody feels good about it, because no matter what we choose, we will have many people who like it and many people who don't, right? So I just want to make sure that the vote is done the way it's supposed to be. So, or agreement and direction. We're not deciding on color, although we should look at these colors, and if there's others, we are going to have to decide. And I don't know if we need to take a meeting. We could look at these things that was sent to us and sort of via email do this. But I would like to get the design. And I told you, I think actually the grayscale for me works even on its own. So, or duotoning, using the same color in different ways. So just so everybody feels good, we have 3-2 right now, or the majority vote, going with the downtown number 4 seal. Is that correct? Yes, majority number 4. Not that one. That's not the one. All the way to the last page. Okay, and then, yeah, because that's the easiest way to see it. There we go. So it's number 4. And if I understood correctly, I don't think all of us cared. But again, we got to bring this home. So I believe that most people like the serif versus the sans serif. I believe that was the case as well. Is that correct? Somebody give me a thumbs up so that Brian can go and complete everything, because got to make decisions. Okay, I like the other one, but either one works for me, so I'm good. Okay, Brian, I'm sorry. Somebody was saying something? No. Okay, so we got the design. I think that's great. Dana and Bob, thank you. It feels like a long journey. Frankly, it's not as long as people make it out to be, because as you know, we have many, many other projects and we had to wait a little bit. And Brian, thank you for all of your work. I do want to say, just for the public record, that the village actually owns all of the creative works. There may be opportunities to use some of the ones we didn't use today for projects, for other branding of projects, for other things. It's really cool. because so much of what you did really looked beautiful. Even the clock as its own standing thing from 200 Main on its own, very beautiful. So thank you for all of that as well. We're going to have to decide by email, the staff can help on colors. Otherwise we can't complete the task here, folks. So very much appreciated. It feels to me like the next step is to let Stuart, I don't know if this is a legislative, it feels like a legislative act. Is that what Stuart had instructed us? Yes, Maddie? Legislative has to be voted on?
I believe the intention was to have a resolution at some
Right.
point. Yes, but I'm not
So
sure it has to be today.
I'm sure it doesn't. So let's let Stuart know that we've, Bob, are you speaking to us or, okay, that's fine. So I didn't know if you wanted to say something. So thank you, everyone. I know this started with a few hiccups way back, who knows when. I think just when I started my tenure as mayor. So I appreciate everybody's thoughtfulness. It's not yet laid in stone. If anybody comes up, if there's a problem, we might hear in the public meeting folks commenting on it. So we'll wait and see, right? Appreciate everybody's time, and I think we can move on. Okay, so that
Thank you.
was Martha Village Seal discussion. Now we're going on to the next special presentation, right?
Yes, it's from the Historic Preservation Committee, and I believe it's Adam Markovics.
Oh, excuse me. Hey, Brian, you're always
Yes.
welcome to stay. Most people, as I'm sure you will too, find our meetings absolutely thrilling, a mile a minute. But if you do want to leave, we would not be offended. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, however.
Riveting, if I
Okay.
may say so.
Okay,
Thank you.
Adam, welcome.
Thank you for having me, everybody. Maddie, I think, is going to be taking control of my PowerPoint because I can't seem to share it.
Not to worry. Give me one moment.
While Maddie's loading that up, I'll say it's fortuitous that there was all this talk of historical matters, and really, I think I can race through the first 2 or 3 slides in which I try to make an argument for the importance of historic preservation. I think I'd be preaching to the choir, very much so. Just a reminder, my name is Adam Markovics. I've lived in the village of Ossining for almost 7 years now. I've been on the HPC for about 5.5 years, and I've been the chair. I think it's been something like 2.5 years. HPC's 7-member land use board appointed by the village manager. We recommend the designation of landmarks and districts. We hear applications for certificates of appropriateness when property owners want to make changes to the exterior of landmark buildings. And we develop public education programs to increase public awareness of the value of historic preservation. Next slide. Why designate landmarks? Because as the discussion about the village seal shows, our buildings are our identity. They are our memory, our collective memory, our history. And without preserving these buildings, we risk losing our sense of communal identity. Next slide. And, you know, when buildings aren't landmarked and when enforcement of local landmarking laws isn't robust, tragedies from a historic preservation perspective happen. This is, of course, the Brandreth Pill Factory in 2009. And the next slide shows what happened in 2015. And this is a sort of a never forget experience, I think, for the village of Ossining and those who care about historic preservation. We don't want to see something like this happen again. Next slide. to sort of get people, particularly owners of historic buildings, excited about landmarking and the potential of landmarking, the HPC organized a webinar in the fall, last fall, in partnership with the Preservation League of New York State. This is a little bit of a dry topic, but for property owners, owners of these landmark buildings or buildings that may be eligible for landmarking, this is a big deal. We did this webinar in partnership with the Preservation League of New York State on historic tax credits. If your building is a National Register listed property, you potentially can take advantage of tax credit programs that are out there, such that if you rehabilitate the building in accordance with Secretary of the Interior guidelines, you may be entitled to a tax credit against your income for up to 20% of the cost of the project if you're a residential homeowner, or up to 40% of the cost of the project in the case of a commercial property or an income producing property. This was a success, I think. I've been asking questions, expressing an interest in landmarking their own properties. I can think offhand of two examples of property owners in the village who, because of this webinar, decided to start pursuing the National Register listing process. One is a homeowner of a big Victorian house on Hamilton Avenue. And the HPC is doing what it can to assist in that process of getting that home on the National Register. The other is the owner of a property that's well known in Ossining, the James Robinson House, 30 State Street. It's an interesting case where that property is locally landmarked, but not on the National Register, and therefore not eligible for tax credits presently. That property owner is now pursuing National Register listing to take advantage of these tax credits. So this is a success story, I think. Next slide. We recently updated the HPC webpage. There's now a tab on Ossining's landmark structures. We're still making some minor edits to this. You can go to the next slide, Maddie. But finally, in one place that's easy for interested residents to look into is a list of the landmark properties in the village, both locally landmarked and National Register listed. The two are different, as I just explained with, for example, the James Robinson House, which you can see on this list, it's number 3. That's a locally landmarked property, but it's not on the National Register. And again, the owner of that property is pursuing National Register listing to take advantage potentially of tax credits to do rehabilitation work. Next slide. At this past Monday's meeting, we were joined by Samantha Gordon, who is a junior at Ossining High School and the winner of our 2022 high school essay and video contest. This year, we focused on Black History Month and invited high school students to pick a building, a neighborhood, a structure, or collection of structures in the village that is important to Black history locally. Samantha did a 3-minute long video on the former residence of the free jazz guitarist Sonny Chirac, and she did a wonderful job. And we congratulated her at Monday's meeting. This is a village certificate, thanks to the village for the time and effort that went into preparing this, and it's only going to make the experience more meaningful for Samantha. In addition, it comes with a cash prize, $500 from the sponsor of the contest, J. Phillip Real Estate. Next slide. So looking ahead, there are at least 2 properties that are on our radar. The first is the First Baptist Church. Next slide. This is a photo I took of the First Baptist Church. I believe it was just this weekend. It's not in good shape, and particularly the steeple and some of the exterior trim work. We've been in touch with, or I've been in touch with representatives of that congregation for a few years now. And unfortunately, I haven't gotten very far. And I think the issue is largely that the congregation is year by year shrinking and trying to, consider undertaking a large historic rehabilitation project when, taking care of basic bills is problematic, has been the main issue. But we are going to continue trying to reach out to the congregation and discuss the prospects for pursuing grants that may assist in the rehabilitation that's so badly needed. Next slide. And that's a close-up of the steeple. I'll note that visitors to Ossining, whether they're coming from north or south on Route 9, this stands out. This is one of the first things they see when they see Ossining. And there are issues, separation of church and state issues that have added to the complexity of pursuing rehabilitation here. But I do think this property in particular should also be on the village's radar very much, given its prominence. Next slide. And this is the second property that's on our radar. I'm sure, Village Board of Trustees is well aware of the Smith Robinson House, also on State Street. Here it is in its heyday. Next slide. And here it is this past weekend. This is a big problem, the state of this building. And we've been in touch with Corporation Counsel, Stuart, Kahan, about what the current owner is doing to ensure that it is not deteriorating and rotting in plain sight. My understanding is that violations have been issued under the village zoning code for demolition by neglect, perhaps among other things. I don't know the current status of the court proceedings relative to these violations, but we are keeping a close eye on it. We don't want to have another building gone and lost due to the neglect of an owner. So that's it. That's my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to move on. I appreciate the work that all of you do, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Adam. Super informative. We're aware of the condition of that building. It has been I'm afraid to even mention that last building because I'm afraid that Deputy Mayor Quesada may jump through the computer. We are not happy with what is happening there, and we've stated that publicly for a long time. But it's good to put in perspective as well. So thank you for the education and, all the work that the group is doing. The historical aspect, as you heard when we discussed the seal, for me personally, is a point of differentiation for our village. That is not to say that every village should do this. It is not to say that every city should. Some cities, the beauty is the modernization of them. You know, for some people that's beautiful, and it's good that we live in a county that has many options and many alternatives. But I do think that people live here and move here um, enjoy the mixture of the modern and the history and all of that. So thank you for sort of framing the conversation from your perspective and being here tonight with us for the presentation. Anyone have comments? I'm sure they do from the board, or questions for Adam?
I would just like to thank Adam for being so devoted to the cause. You know, there are two alumni of the Historic Preservation Commission sitting here on the Board of Trustees, right, Manny? And that's certainly where I learned a lot of things. And I learned that historic preservation is a complicated and complex issue with a lot of different factors that go into it, and a lot of passion and a lot of heartbreak when you lose that history, because it's really hard to control what happens to these buildings if you don't own them. Thank you. And I would love to see the 3-minute video that your award winner made on the Sunny Shore House at some point. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to echo what Dana said. Adam, thank you so much for everything that you and the LPC does for our community. I watch the meetings afterwards. I have a conflict of 2 meetings at the same time, so I apologize. Next month I'll skip my other meeting and I'll go to yours, I promise. But I do watch the meetings on when they're available back on the week after or over the weekend. And I know how much work do you guys do. And you're right, Mayor, regarding to the last building, Adam, please, believe me, I think I'm the most vocal. I think the passion is there for all our board members, everybody in here, but I'm the most vocal one from the BOT portion, at least in regards to the Ms. Robinson house. And I have no problem calling the developer out or whoever the contractors are in regards to this building. It's a shame of what they have done for our community. It's a shame of what they have done to this building. And I will still call them out. I've done it every single time that I get a chance, every single time that they actually come to our meetings, which has been a while. And I'm hoping to see them soon. Hopefully we'll coordinate that soon. But believe me, we are working on it. The village, the staff is working on it, try to remediate this process and try to make this Ms. Robinson house what it should be and what it's supposed to be for us. But thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Manny. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Adam, for being here tonight. I'm sorry.
Thank you all very much.
Great. How's you? Thank you. And again, to you as well. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the evening. We would not be insulted if you leave. And thank you for joining us. Martha, I think we're down to administrative reports.
Administrative reports, Village Manager Karen Dottori.
Thank you, Martha. Good evening, everybody. So a lot of downtown revitalization initiative planning in the works. This past week on Saturday, we had an open house at the community center. We had about 40 people in attendance, but thankfully all the information is online on all the projects, so you can still have time to weigh in on them. We presented, we were able to talk about the projects to the people who were there. And again, all the information is online. So please check our website and provide your comments on the DRI projects being proposed. There are several of them, and all the public feedback is going to be distilled and brought back to the planning committee. There will be a meeting this week, tomorrow, from 12 to 2. It is a public meeting, so if you would like to zoom in and find out, they will be talking about projects that are not sponsored by the village, and that would include Sing Sing Prison Museum, Olive Opera House, and a project for a town redoing the stage and entertainment venue at Lewis Ingle Park. So please feel free to tune in. That's a all Zoom meeting tomorrow, 12 to 2. The information's on our website. And then the following week, we will be going over village sponsored projects, which include upgrades to the community center, getting a business into 200 Main Street, and redeveloping the Main Street lots, along with a few other projects. So that will be next week on May 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. So we also have great news in parking. If you've been driving around Austin, you may have noticed that you can use your app to pay for parking now. And that's thank you to our staff that worked on that, Maddie Zahaj, the police department. Thank you, Kevin. And Sue Donnelly in the clerk's office, our clerk, really led that charge, and we are now in the 21st century with the ability to pay for parking on your phone, and that's been going pretty well. We also are going to be getting grid rewards. Some of you have done this for yourself, for your homes. There's an app you can put on, and as you save energy, you get money back. Well, now we're going to be doing that on our municipal buildings. So for all of our municipal buildings, 16 Croton, and then the rec center, the op center, and the police department and courthouse, we will be able to get money back when we save energy. So we're happy about that. And with that, I would like to sum up my manager's report for the week.
Thank you. Have you gotten any feedback on I mean, I've gotten some emails, but mostly people said, when did this happen? I didn't know. This is sort of, some said good. Some were like, whoa, what's going on here? But I didn't get any real complaints. Have you guys, I mean, are you seeing like a lot of usage? Do you have any metrics in place for what a lot is and what a little is and what your goal is?
I'm going to let Maddie answer that because she has up-to-date information on that.
Sure. So thank you. We rolled out the app on Tuesday of last week, so April 26th. So we have just about a week under our belts. The first day had a couple fits and starts, so we didn't have a ton of transactions on Tuesday. But we've been averaging about 35 a day, except for Saturday, which was almost double that. So I'm kind of curious to see like what the trend is going to be, if there are certain days of the week, certain types of weather, things like that. But what I can tell you is that primarily it's being used on Main Street. If you've gotten a chance to take a look, we have I think it's 9 or 10 distinct zones. Spring Street is all one zone. Main Street is divided into 2. Broad Avenue is a zone. There's Upper and Lower Croton. And I think when I looked at it this afternoon before leaving the office, the Upper Main Street zone is at least 3 times more popular than its closest neighbor. So those are the spots that we're seeing folks using the app most often with.
Is that what Open Door is?
Yes, exactly. That's also
Okay.
our highest concentration of spots, so it sort of makes sense. But as we expand, into the different areas that we're talking about, the train station and some other locations, and we add those zones in, we'll definitely be able to get a little bit more data about where folks are more likely to use it, and then see if we can inform any policy changes with that information. But I also will echo what the mayor said. We haven't heard a single complaint, knock wood. I'm sort of waiting for it now that I've sort of, manifested that into the universe. But
yes, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, but all the folks who we've talked to have said it's really simple. Several of the business owners, told us that they were really excited. They were telling all their clients about it. So hopefully it'll continue to go just that way.
Nice. I mean, we've been talking about for so long that when it actually happened, I totally forgot about it. Even though I put in the mayor message, I probably think like 3 months is a quarter. We'll probably want to just hear, or even an email or something. Obviously, if there's issues, you're going to deal with them before that. All good. Congratulations. you know, I feel like I need to buy like a little drum and do a drum roll. It's not the same thing on Zoom. Maddie, next time find me a little icon with a drum so I can like click on something, because we're making it sound like it's a nothing, but this was actually a big project a number of years ago. And people, some of us were laughing when we talked about it, like it's never really going to happen. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, the police, because a lot of this involves also connecting to the police department, the data we're going to get from it, the information. So when people tell us how there's no parking here and there's no parking there, or this and that, we're going to be able to actually look at some data and say, huh, that's, you know, the data points confirm or maybe don't confirm some of the anecdotes. So, and we won't have to run around fixing meters as much with all the coins the way we used to. I only had a question. Is this the same system they're using in Tarrytown?
No.
Same company?
No, Tarrytown uses a system called Pay by Phone.
Yeah.
It's Larchmont, the village of Pelham, White Plains, and Mount Kisco
So
are
it's
our
White
other
Plains
neighbors
that we
in
copied. That's right.
Westchester.
It's White Plains that you went to look at and have used. Now, some people just are going to have, if you travel a lot in Westchester, 2 or 3 apps on your phone because different communities chose a different platform. Well, listen, thank you all. I hope I caught everybody in the gratitude, because I don't want to accidentally leave a group out. So much
Mayor,
appreciated.
if I might, just very quickly, I'm sorry. It has been an enormous effort. And, you know, specifically the police department, the clerk's office, like Karen said, but also Stuart has been instrumental, as has Jamie. Jamie has, you know, been on a lot of these calls with me over the last couple of weeks as we get ready for launch with the press release and, you know, trying to get information out to the public in advance so they know what to expect. So I just want to make sure that that they're also shouted out, because
No, I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
always
Thank you
scared to
for that,
name.
Mary.
I'm always afraid to like name people because I know I'm going to forget someone. So I appreciate that. Anyway, and I know we've been waiting for this, and now that happens, it's sort of like, okay, next. But it is a big deal, and it's going to be a cost saving, and it's going to be a data provider, and there are more opportunities to use it in really great ways, which we've discussed in work sessions. I don't want to go through that whole piece again. Okay, Stuart Kahan is not here, so we will skip that, and we will go. Oh, I'm sorry, Martha. You're supposed to do this. We're going right to.
Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
As is typical of this time of year for the police department, a lot of training going on. Last week, we completed defensive tactics training of the entire department throughout the year. We'll cover the entire curriculum that everybody got in the police academy and recertify everybody from top to bottom. In most years, you get maybe 4 hours or 8 hours of DT. I think everybody's getting 24 this year. So lots and lots of training this year. Yesterday, our SWAT team partnered with Peekskill Police Department out in the town of Ossining and conducted a joint training session there. Last week, we also had a program in Park School for reading in schools. So we had a number of officers through Park School all day reading to different classrooms. Last Saturday, we did our National Drug Take Back Day, and a reminder that the drug take back box is available all year. So that's really just a promotion, not necessarily something that people need to get to. Last week, we had two officers were certified as procedural justice instructors. We'll be bringing that back for the entire department, which focuses on legitimacy of law enforcement in the community. Next week, we start first half firearm certification. And on Friday, we will have the Special Olympics torch run come through Ossining, carried by police officers across Westchester County. So a little bit of traffic from that on Friday. That's for a good cause. And then on Saturday, May 21st, we'll be partnering with the school district again for Trucks and Treasures, which will be a touch a truck event with all sorts of different vehicles for kids to have. And there'll be free breakfast that day as well at AMD. And we'll put more information out about that as we get closer. Thanks.
Nice. Any questions, folks? Okay, thank you. Martha?
Okay, is there anybody here who would like to make an organizational announcement? Seeing no one, is there anybody who would like to address the board on any of the resolutions on the agenda? Seeing no one, we're going on to the village board resolutions. Approval of minutes, April 20th, 2022. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the April 20th, 2022 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of minutes.
Martha, I think, are these the minutes from last week?
So there's 3 different sets of minutes. There's the 20th, the 25th, and the 27th.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Approval of minutes, April 25th, 2022. Result of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the minutes of the April 25th, 2022 executive session as presented. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I think this was a meeting that Trustee Fritchie was not at. Am I correct?
That's, yeah, that's why I
That's
asked.
correct.
On the 25th, okay. Thank you. Okay. Approval of minutes, April 27th, 2022. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the minutes of the April 27th, 2022 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay, approval of voucher detail, May 4th, 2022. Result of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated May 4th, 2022 in the amount of $647,961.11. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Uh,
Aye.
Comments? Okay, Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry, I want to go back to that last one on the minutes on the 25th. That was the
Mhm.
Monday. Bob
Okay.
was there.
Okay, so Trustee Fritchie was there for the one on Monday, but was not there for the one on Wednesday.
I voted for the 25th. I abstained on the
Right.
27th.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
No,
I
it
just
was
wanted
done
to make sure.
correctly.
Sorry about that.
No, no,
All right, sorry
appreciate it,
about that.
Manny. It was done
That's okay.
correctly.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
Martha.
It's okay, thank you. Resolution approving 2022 cabaret license for Hudson Valley Books Incorporated, doing business as Hudson Valley Books for Humanity, 67 Central Avenue, Austin, New York. Resolved that pursuant to the code, the Board of Trustees hereby approves a cabaret license for 2022 for Hudson Valley Books Incorporated, doing business as Hudson Valley Books for Humanity as follows. Hudson Valley Books Incorporated, doing business as Hudson Valley Books for Humanity, days/hours, Wednesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., Friday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. For occasional recitals and/or music performances by up to 8 performers. Do I have a motion?
Second.
So this looks like it was updated from last
Yeah.
time.
There was an error. They, as I had actually pointed out, they.
Yeah, the hours were weird, right?
Hours were weird and they were,
Okay.
that was just an error, so we corrected it.
Great. Okay. I'm sorry, Martha. Go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I'm sorry,
Authorizing the-
Martha, I might have missed it. Did you read the voucher resolution, resolution D?
Where is she?
Yeah. I did.
Okay,
D.
The vouchers? No, you have not. That one not yet.
We did.
okay.
You motioned it, Trustee Kasana.
Approval for voucher detail May
Yeah.
4th.
I read that number. I remember because I said 11 cents.
Okay.
Huh, it was voted on.
Well, if you
Oh,
wrote it
I'm
down, we're
sorry.
good.
Yes, sorry. Yes. I just
All
had
right.
it before. That's why. Thanks, Maddie, for confusing me. I'm trying to
Okay.
read all the minutes.
All right. Now we're going to F.
Resolution F, yes.
Okay.
Authorizing the village manager to sign a revised memorandum of understanding with Sustainable Westchester Incorporated for participation in the short-term power extension contract for communities in the Con Edison service territory. Whereas the Village of Austin adopted local legislation to enable community choice aggregation, CCA, Village of Austin Code Chapter 10. And whereas the current electric service agreement, ESA, and the Sustainable Westchester CCA program terminates on June 30th, 2022. And whereas the village wants to continue to engage the services of Sustainable Westchester Incorporated as the program manager for CCA and the operation and maintenance of the program. And whereas on April 6, 2022, the Board of Trustees approved the resolution authorizing the village manager to sign a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with Sustainable Westchester Incorporated for participation in the short-term Westchester power extension contract for communities in the Con Edison service territory. And whereas the MOU defined compliant offer as electric power supply offer from a competitive supplier that meets the requirements specified in this MOU, and the 2022 extension ESA a complaint offer price must be inclusive of fees owed to program manager and be less than residential accounts 12.50 cents /kWh to small commercial accounts 12.50 cents /kWh. And whereas because of the validity of the energy market, Sustainable Westchester has requested a revised MOU with a new price not to exceed of 13.90 cents kWh. Now therefore be it resolved that upon review with the Corporation Counsel, the village manager is authorized to sign a revised memorandum of understanding MOU with Sustainable Westchester Incorporated, 40 Green Street, Mount Kisco, New York, 10549 for participation in the short-term Westchester Power Extension contract for communities in the Con Edison service territory, which revised MOU includes a not to exceed price of residential accounts and small commercial accounts of 13.90 cents /kWh, and be it further resolved that the purpose of the MOU is to A, establish the village's participation in a CCA program to be managed by Sustainable Westchester Incorporated under the 2022 Extension Electric Service Agreement ESA. B, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Incorporated agree to adhere to the terms and conditions of the 2022 Extension ESA in the event of the 2022 Extension ESA is executed. And C, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Incorporated agree to execute the 2022 Extension ESA subject to the conditions of review and approval outlined in the Revised Memorandum of Understanding. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments? I'll only say that we continue. We've been with Sustainable Westchester from way back, one of the first villages to be supportive of the program. We continue to do so. It creates a competitive environment on so many levels. And that's it. It's become something we believe in as a village. And we have a history with Sustainable Westchester regarding this matter. Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? DPW authorization to advertise for bids, contract DPW 22-02, modernization and maintenance of one passenger elevator at 16 Croton Avenue. Resolved, that subject to review by Corporation Counsel, the village clerk is authorized to advertise for bids for contract DPW 22-02, modernization and maintenance for one passenger elevator at 16 Croton Avenue. Such bids to be returnable to the village clerk. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? No. Authorization to spend up to $600,000 for improvements to the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. Whereas the Village of Austining has applied for a state and municipal facilities program (SAM) grant for $500,000 for improvements to the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. And whereas the proposed improvements include swimming pool LED lighting system, construction of a family locker room and restroom, spray deck fixtures and controls, new male and female locker rooms, new locker room materials, and pool resurfacing and rehabilitation. And whereas cost estimates have been obtained for the improvements in the amount of $1,062,286.55. And whereas that where the project is not fully funded by the grant proceeds, $500,000, the grantee village must be able to demonstrate that funding is available for the entire project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the expenditure of up to $600,000 from fund balance to contribute to the cost of this important project, which will benefit the residents of Austining and others who use the community center. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? I'll just chime in. First of all, this is an investment in one of the most used parts of our community center, which is the pool. Pools are, during COVID, have proven to be a godsend for people to stay in shape, to be able to use. Our pool is heavily used. It needs a facelift, and I'm being kind. It's the locker rooms, it's the pool. This is the refurbishing of the pool. And this is not instead of the DRI. This will be worked. We are still looking at DRI to help us do more enhancements to the community center. But we were fortunate enough that Sandy Galiff, our Assemblywoman, was able to come forth with $500,000. We're putting in a little bit north of $500,000 to really do this right and to refurbish, reline, and the lighting, the pool, etc. Everyone will benefit from it. So I'm happy to support this, and we discussed it last week. But we always talk about expenditures, but to me, this is an investment for the next 20 or so years. So happy to take the $500,000 and add a bit to it at this time. Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizing the village manager to issue revised request for proposals for developer of village-owned property 200 Main Street. Resolved that upon review by the Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to issue revised request for proposals for a developer of village-owned property at 200 Main Street. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Again, just a short comment for the record. This building has sat for more than 40 years. Some people are telling me it's 60, but I've been told the official record is 40 years sitting empty. We have been taking care of it environmentally. Some of you have been driving down Main Street, notice that there is work being done. That is all to get it up to code. We would like to open it up for developers or owners to look at it, invest in it, invest in our community. And so we are putting the RFP, the proposals back out, and hopefully this will be put on the tax rolls. Hopefully, you know, we see it come back to life soon. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful building, and the entrance to our downtown. Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Resolution declaring certain village-owned vehicles as surplus. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby declares the following vehicles as surplus equipment and authorizes their disposal in accordance with New York State law by sale or otherwise as is. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bob, I think you might want to, oh, there you go.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. Authorizing the village treasurer to issue a tax refund to George Johnson, 16 Rockledge Avenue, Unit 2-2A, Austining, New York. Whereas George Johnson is the owner of real property in the village identified as 16 Rockledge Avenue.
Excuse me. Hey, Dana, you might want to mute too. We're getting sounds from somebody's background. There we go. Sorry, Martha, go ahead.
Give me just 1 second. I think it may be not Dana. Hold on.
Oh, it might be you. Okay.
Okay. Authorizing the village treasurer to issue a tax refund for George Johnson, 16 Rockledge Avenue, Unit 2-2A, Austining, New York. Whereas George Johnson is the owner of real property in the village identified as 16 Rockledge Avenue, Unit 2-2A, Austining, New York, 97.15-1-37. And whereas on April 7th, 2022, Mr. Johnson submitted to the Westchester County Tax Commission an application for refund or credit of real property taxes. And whereas New York Real Property Tax Law Section 550 recognizes correctable errors, including the following clerical error, an incorrect entry due to the failure of the assessor to act on a partial exemption. And whereas Mr. Johnson previously applied for a Cold War veterans exemption from real property taxation. And whereas by correspondence dated April 11th, 2022, the executive director of the Westchester County Tax Commission determined that a clerical error had occurred regarding Mr. Johnson's real property taxes for 2019, 2020, and 2021, and recommended that the application for a refund be granted. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the village treasurer to issue payment to Mr. George Johnson in the amount of $381.78. That amount representing a refund due to Mr. Johnson from his village taxes for years 2019, 2020, and 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Authorization to sign revised license agreement with SMRR LLC, 195 Main Street. Resolved that upon review with the Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to a revised license agreement with the SMRR LLC, PO Box 231, Briarcliff Manor, New York, 10510, regarding property identified on tax maps of the village of Austining, section 89.19, block 4, lots 6 and 14. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Acknowledgement of gifts. Resolved the Board of Trustees gratefully acknowledges the donation of $600 from Father Humphrey of the Maryknoll Fathers and Brothers for such donation to be put forward the aquatics program of the Recreation and Parks Department. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
Comments? In addition to thanking, is it Friar Humphrey? Is that the appropriate
Father.
father?
Father, yeah.
Oh, it's just-
Father.
Okay, is that what the FR is? Okay, to thank him, which I'm sure we have. Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, call for public hearing, proposed honorary street naming for Neil Wolf. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby calls for a public hearing to take place on May 18th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. to consider the proposed honorary street naming of the intersection of Central Avenue and Main Street in memorial of Neil Wolf pursuant to the village's honorary street naming policy. And be it further resolved that as a result of the continuing state of emergency contained in Executive Orders 11, 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4, and 11.5, and the associated suspensions and modifications of law, including the open meetings law, the public hearing will be conducted remotely via the Zoom platform with instruction for those who wish to watch and or participate listed below. And be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed honorary street naming will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at bot@villageofaustining.org. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there any continuing business of the board? No. Okay. So new business of the board, finance, establishment of 2022 street, sidewalk, and signalized intersection improvements, capital project from debt financing sources and CHIP state aid funding. Whereas village management wishes to establish a capital project in accordance with the 2022 capital plan for street and sidewalk resurfacing and improvements not to exceed $1,090,000 designated to be financed by issuance of $850,000 serial bonds and $240,000 CHIP state aid funding. Now therefore be resolved, the capital projects and capital project budgets are established as follows. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? I'm not sure why it's stale. Why is this under new business versus work session? You have to unmute. There you go.
Yep, sorry about that. I think in terms of getting this in place, because we have to wait for permissive referendum, the 30 days, this one and the water resolution for the bond resolution that's going to come up next for the timing. If we waited for the next work session and then waited for the next legislative, it would put 2 or 3 more weeks into the process. So we asked to get it on so that we could have the permissive referendum period done and then move on to getting
I see.
these started. Yep,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
thanks.
Martha, I think we're in a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Finance, establishment of 2022 purchase of water meters and installation from debt financing sources. Whereas village management wishes to establish a capital project in accordance with the 2022 capital plan for purchase of water meters and installation not to exceed $950,000 designated to be financed by issuance of serial bonds. Now therefore be it resolved, capital projects and capital project budgets are established as follows. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, a resolution authorizing the purchase and installation of water meters in and for the village of Austining, Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $950,000 and authorizing subject to permissive referendum the issuance of $950,000 serial bonds of said village to pay the cost thereof. Section 1, the purchase and installation of water meters in and for the village of Austining. I'm sorry, my apologies. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the purchase and installation of water meters in and for the Village of Austining, Westchester County, New York, including cost incidental thereto, is hereby authorized subject to permissive referendum at a maximum estimated cost of $950,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is by the issuance of $950,000 serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with a notice of the village clerk is substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I'm still
Uh,
reading this. This is a long, and this came in late.
Martha, I believe that's a roll call vote.
Yes,
It is a roll call.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, because I'm still reading, because this stuff
Yeah.
all came very late. Or at least I didn't see it. Dale, what are the bonds looking like these days with the market all over the place?
I haven't reached out to them yet for rates because it is going to be a little bit before we actually go to market. But once these are established and I'm doing the continuing disclosure, I'll reach out to them at
Okay.
that point, which
All right.
is next month.
Okay, all right. We're in a vote, Martha?
Okay, trustee White,
Aye.
trustee Lopez,
Aye.
trustee Fritchie,
Aye.
trustee Casada,
Aye.
Mayor Levin.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. A resolution authorizing the reconstruction of streets in and for the village of Austin, Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,090 and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $850,000 serial bonds of said village to pay the costs thereof. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength on the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the reconstruction of streets throughout and in and for the Village of Austin, Westchester County, New York, including street paving, sidewalk, curbs, gutters, drainage, landscaping, grading, or improving rights of way, traffic signal, and instrumentation, as well as other improvements and costs incidental thereto, is hereby authorized, subject to permissive referendum, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,090,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. A, by the issuance of $850,000 serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. And B, by the application and expenditure of $240,000 CHIPS funding to be received in connection therewith. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with a notice of the village clerk is substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. This resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Okay, it's a roll
Another
call.
one. Correct. So trustee White,
Aye.
trustee Fritchie,
Aye.
trustee Casada,
Aye.
trustee Lopez,
Aye.
and Mayor Levin.
Aye.
Okay, okay. Is there anybody here who would like to address the board on issues not related to the agenda, but of relevance to the common good of the village?
I don't think
There's no
there's
one on.
anybody in the, oh, sorry, Jane.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, in that case, can I have a motion and a second for an executive session on a matter of personnel regarding a particular person?
So move.
Second.
Comments? I don't think so. Martha?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our session for tonight. It is 9:23 on the 4th of May. We will see you again next Wednesday. And before we all hang up, who is hosting the next meeting? Just so I know. Oh, 2 hands went up. That's all I need. Okay, folks, have a very good evening.
Have a good night.